Well, a bit of an extra treat this week. Behind me is little Jim, or little Jim 2, I think it actually is. A tasker Showman, currently looked after by Mike Lewendon, who's invited me along for the exercise of moving back to the yard. So they've come over towards Clanfield from Fairford, and then this evening it's back to Witney. So it's about 9 miles, and I'm going to tag along. Hi Mike.
All right.
So tell me about the engine. Who owns the engine?
It's owned by Chris Barber.
Right.
He's had it twice. Him and his father bought it in the 60s.
Right.
Did the initial restoration, and then it was sold in the 1980s, and he bought it back in 2002.
Oh wow, so it had a 20 years elsewhere.
Yes.
Right, right.
Yeah. 8 years ago we started putting a firebox in it, which we finished 4 years ago, and we've been running it around for him ever since.
So it needed a complete new firebox, or
it was a firebox and a back head and a set of tubes, obviously all the stays. The repaint was done a couple of years before that by Tomo. It's had a new top gear, mains, big ends, back axle, axle bearings, front axle bearings.
Pretty good shape now.
It's pretty good. It's just a little bit noisy, but the top gear is actually shaped like a bell. They all slide over the top of each other, so
it's got a good ring to it.
Yes, yeah, you'll hear that in a minute. Yeah.
So yeah, you did quite a lot of miles on it, didn't you?
Yeah. Not so much in the last couple of years, but yeah, we're not sort of 40 miles a day. You know, which is nice. You can almost do it before lunch. Sometimes we've done it a bit further, but
so she sits at a decent speed then.
Yes.
What will she do on the road?
Well, we've been averaging 8 this last sort of year or two.
Yeah. Not
pushing it too hard because it's all sort of fairly new, but we have had more than double that. So.
Yeah.
But it's not maintainable. The roads are so bad.
Yeah.
It's not that the engine won't do it. It's that you'll break it on the potholes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, apart from anything, I sort of start taking chunks out of the tyres and all that sort of thing, won't you?
Yeah.
Oh, she's a lovely engine. So, Chris doesn't run her anymore. You just look after it.
I look after it, Chris. Yeah.
Chris, yeah.
Yeah. He pays the bills and lets me play.
Isn't that the perfect way round?
Yeah. Pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, she's a lovely engine, isn't
she?
A great size, I think, for road work particularly, because she's just
definitely
not quite as big, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can avoid some of the potholes, whereas you know, there's something that's nearly 8 foot wide. Some of the Borough Scenics and things like that, you can't avoid them.
Well, I think the difficulty with something that's already 8 foot wide is that you've got so little tolerance in your steering. I mean, you know, if you go slightly offline, you're halfway into the carriageway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've got about half a turn of slack on this at the moment,
right?
Which actually needs a bit of adjustment, and it does take a little bit of getting used to. But
yeah, that's pretty tight though, isn't it?
Yeah. You have to be at the speeds it will do. Yeah.
So it was a pretty poor state then when it was picked up in the 60s.
Yes, they reboxed it in the 60s.
Right.
It would have been chocolate brown and cream originally. It wasn't built as a Showman's tractor. It was just built for general haulage. And then in 1928 it became the Showman's tractor. That it stayed with the rest of the time.
Nice to have a decent amount of history with it though.
Yeah.
Knowing where it's been and what's happened to it over time.
Yeah, well, Chris's dad bought it out of the last working owner.
Right.
It had gone to a timber yard for timber extraction at about the time of the Second World War. Personally, I think they used it once. It sank it up to its axle boxes and tender, and they probably put it in the yard and promptly forgot about it, because this thing will go down like a stone in a puddle. It's like stiletto heels on a muddy field.
They are quite narrow back wheels, aren't they?
Yes, they're 10 inches wide.
Yeah. Was there a reason that they were so narrow? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, the Tasker that I used to own, the wheels on that were 14 inches wide. No, this is the build. The one of Kitchener's Friend, I think their wheels are 12 inches wide.
Right.
So, yeah.
So standard layout on the footplate.
Yep. Yeah, it's a little bit different in that you have two. Well, you'd think of them as regulators, but one isn't. One is an exhaust valve, the left-hand side one.
Right. Yeah.
So it opens an exhaust valve and then pushes the button. So you've got your starting button and your exhaust. So it works like a Foden. In that it's got a true double high, and the beat of the exhaust changes and everything. It sounds like a Wallace Advance when you're in that mode.
So and you'll run that on road in?
No,
just
that is
for getting going, or
that is for starting, getting going, shunting, because it restricts it. But oh wow, powerful! Gives it. I mean, it's a 5-horse engine. Based it on a 4-horse boiler. You can use all the steam and all the water very quickly. Yeah, 3 speeds, pump and injector, geared down pump, so yeah, you can use it while you're driving. Still tend to use the injector because it's kinder. Yeah.
And so your steam for the injector is this one over here? That
one over there, and the water tap, they're both together.
Right. Yeah. Okay, yeah. 3 speed.
3 speed. Yeah. Yeah, Taskers would make you anything really. If it's a B2 Tasker, they had 3 different types of cylinder. You could have 2 speed, 3 speed, you could have chain drive, you could have an Oldham coupling style back axle, you could have long teeth, you could, yeah, they were compact little tractor, and they're good fun.
But very, very usable. I mean, apart from, you know, you've got the Showman's aspect to it, but actually a very usable tractor at the same time.
Yep.
Oh, it's a lovely engine. What age?
She's 104 now.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, 1920.
That's the added benefit of keeping my hat on.
That's it, yeah.
Say again?
Have you ever steered anything fast?
Yeah.
Dan? Yeah. Phone just in that yellow bag. Yeah. Right.
good. One coming. One coming. Yep.
And it did take me a bit of time to get used to the steering. We were weaving around the road a bit at this stage. And then we had a bit of a swap around, and Mike did some steering whilst I did some driving.
Just nail it. Yeah, I know. I see that one there.
I want to say an absolutely huge thanks to Mike Lewendon for reaching out and inviting me along for the day. It was an absolute treat. Really enjoyed it, and yeah, my opinion of the engine hasn't changed at all. She's absolutely beautiful. Also, big thanks to Ben for having the engine ready when we arrived to take her back to Witney, and also to Stan for doing such a fantastic job as cameraman. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, I know. Catching the man himself. What do you think of that then, Dan?
Oh, bloody good. Yeah, it's getting used to it. That's the thing, isn't it? I mean, I think any engine's going to take a little bit of getting used to.
They're all different.
Need to be more brutal with it.
Oh yeah, driving like you stole it.
Yeah.
Let you off now. His nerves are
You're allowed down now.